This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Well, we're going to talk with another Razorback football legend as we go to the McLarty Daniel Hotline, and Quinn Grovey joining us here. Always good to hear your voice, Quinn. Can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks. How you doing?
So I'm doing good, man. Anytime I get a chance to be on the radio with two legends, that's always a good thing. But I got to give you credit, though. The music that you came back from break on, rocking a little Eddie Grant, Electric Avenue. I like it.
Yeah, that's Christian over there. Quinn, who won the golf battle between you and Chuck when y'all played this year?
Chuck took another L.
He took another L.
Yeah. He's becoming very accustomed to taking L's on the golf course with me now. And actually, he would say it's not because of anything I did. It was because of my nephew, Casey, who played pretty good that day, because we played a scramble.
Right.
And so, we took him out and had a good time. And Casey hit the most shots. I talked the most trash.
Well, I think Chuck also was just a little worried about doing a radio hit with us because he was on the show with us. I think after you guys were done,
they were doing
about the time you were done.
They were doing a card off or something.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
you can credit us for partially that win.
The match was already over. He could have done it about 20 minutes earlier. He could have hopped on. I mean, he thought he had a chance of coming back. Thought we were going to fall apart, and then, of course, his math skills really kicked in on stroke play and was really trying to come back on us on the last hole, but. We got it all corrected.
Yeah, but it's all fun and game stuff. That's all off-season stuff, and the off-season's over. You know, Chuck said he's almost done with golf now. You know, because now it's all business, man. Because soccer plays tonight, and that means that the athletics calendar is starting. So it's all business. Yep. And in 2 weeks, we will finally see this Arkansas football team on the field against somebody else. What's top of mind for you right now with Arkansas football a couple of weeks into preseason camp?
Oh, man, there's a lot to unpack, of course. And I think, when the first thing you think about is KJ and Rocket and how will they perform in the new offense. And I know Dan Enos is incorporating a few things that should allow the run game to be a little bit more physical, a little bit more powerful, especially inside the red zone. So I'm anxious to see how KJ does with a brand-new group of wide receivers while learning a new offense. And from what I understand and what I've seen, KJ has been very, very good at picking it up. He's been one of the leaders in the offseason in regards to holding workouts. And so they're coming along. KJ is super smart from an football IQ standpoint, so he'll pick things up. Just the most difficult thing about learning a new offense is it's almost, it's just new terminology and being able to grasp that. And I had to change offenses whenever I was a senior. And it's just the terminology. I mean, you're a seasoned guy. You're expected to know everything. But then when you learn a new offense, sometimes you're wondering in the huddle, am I calling this play right? Even though the formations are very similar all the way across the board, the different terminology is what generally throws people off. But it seems like they're picking things up really, really fast, and they're excited about this offense. And then defensively, I think we've got more talent on defense than you've seen in a long, long time. I think you've got several guys on the defensive front that can play. I think you've got some linebackers that don't mind running and hitting, very, very athletic. Then I think you've infused some talent in the secondary as well that's going to give you an opportunity to play people and be able to cover, be able to do some man stuff, some things that we hadn't been able to do over the last few years.
Yeah, Quinn, you're right. That translation, because you're running the same plays, same concepts, but it might be called something a little different. And then the quarterback, you got to kind of be able to tell everybody what's going on if something's going on. And I look at last year's team and then the team from 2 years ago, and I say we really missed a guy like Treylon Burks, and I guess that's easy to say because he was so dominant. Do we have a receiver this year that can step up and be that guy when he sees man coverage and has these RPOs called and he can check to it and say, man, I know my guy can beat that guy outside?
Man, that's such a luxury, too, when you've got one of those guys. There's no doubt about it. And you're right, Burks has been that guy over the last few years. But I think this year is going to be Andrew Armstrong. I think at 6'4", 201 pounds, I think KJ and Andrew have a really nice connection. I think KJ believes he's going to be where he needs to be on his route. Armstrong can get separation, but then also he can go up and win those high point balls. You know, sometimes, man, things, you know as well as I know. I mean, we don't always make the right decisions as quarterbacks. And sometimes, you know, you get in trouble and you see things, and I see my guy down there with a guy on him one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to throw him a 50-50 ball, and hopefully he'll either come up with it or knock it down and not let the other guy get it. I think Andrew Armstrong can be that for KJ. He's got speed. He's got size. He's got nice route running ability. He has good hands. So, to me, he would be the leader in the clubhouse if I had to pick someone to be the leading receiver for this football team. But they've got a bunch of other guys coming up, too, on that receiving core that we know nothing about or have not been introduced to Razorback Nation. But I think they feel very, very comfortable about this receiving core and what they can add.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about trust when you see your guy 50-50, George Wilson, a Marcus Monk. And then, Quinn, I'm with you. I'm excited to see who these guys are going to step up and some of these guys that are going to make plays for us. When you look at these running backs, I mean, there's a bevy of running backs in the stable back there. How do you think Dan Enos is going to utilize these backs and maybe have both these backs on the field at the same time?
Yeah, I think you'll see some of that, and I think we're talking a lot about utilizing dual running backs because Dan wants to get the best personnel grouping on the field, and so you'll see some 20 personnel, 2 running backs, and no tight end, or you'll see some 21 out of the shotgun and a lot of different things. You've got 4 really, really solid running backs. I think it's probably one of the best running back rooms in the SEC because when you look at each one of them, they all bring something different to the table. I mean, A.J. Green is extremely fast. Rocket is your bell cow. Rashad can be a change of pace guy. Dominique Johnson, getting him back is really, really huge. I think you've got 4 really, really great running backs. And even though you got those 4, I'm still concerned about the fact that there's not much behind them. You're still trying to grow that group. There are going to be times where you're going to have to play, without an A.J., and you're going to be down to 3 or 2 or whatever, depending on injuries or whatever. So I feel very comfortable about the guys we have. You still want to make sure you protect them and put them in the right situation. But if the receivers come along the way I think they will, you may not see as much 20 personnel because at the end of the day, Dan Enos is about getting the best players on the field. But when you go 2 backs with that quarterback like a KJ Jefferson, now you can go shotgun and actually create some type of triple option situation whenever things are going south in the run game. I do believe, Matt, when you have a offensive line like we do, you got running backs like we do. Out of those 4 running backs, somebody's running style is going to be effective that day against whoever you play. I mean, whether it's a one cut and cut back or a patient run with vision, somebody's running style is going to be effective that day. To me, the X factor is when things don't go right in a traditional running game, inserting KJ into that, reading that defensive end, pitching off that linebacker or that safety or whatever, and forcing them to play responsibility football. So I think Arkansas's run game is going to be very complex traditionally, but when things don't go well, they've got a different component that can increase the running game chances.
I do agree with you too, Quinn, about the defense, and I'm doing that off of reading and reading about the players that have come in and expecting growth from other players too. But man, I mean, when you look at the returning talent defensively, when you see who's coming in from the transfer portal, and you've got grown men who have produced at Division I major college football at all 3 levels of the defense where they brought them in, line of scrimmage, linebackers, secondary. I do think this has a chance to be a pretty nasty defense. Like, forget about the numbers from last year, being dead last in FBS passing yards against, and not creating enough turnovers, and really being a team that needed to get to the quarterback. I think this defense, and I'm excited to see what Travis Williams does as far as attacking, because I think as long as you got the cornerbacks to cover one-on-one, I think you got the guys to attack. And you said it, maybe more of a talented defense in terms of depth than we've seen in a long time. And all you got to do is just look at what some of these guys had done in their previous stops in college football.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, starting with that defensive front, I think this is, Deke Adams has done a very nice job. And I think for the first time in a long time, they feel like they really have a two deep. I know Sam is really trying to create that on the offensive line and the defensive line. We're not completely there on the offensive line, but defensively, I think they feel like they can roll guys in. And when you got guys competing and the drop-off is not that big from your first team to the second team, when it gets to the point where that second teamer is chomping at the bit to get in there because he's trying to take reps from that first teamer, that means you got great competition and you got guys, willing to make plays. In the past, we take that first teamer out and the drop-off between that second teamer is so significant, then, boom, there's an 80-yard run up the middle. So I think starting with the defensive front, you feel really, really good about that. So I think from an SEC caliber standpoint, you're good there. You're right about those linebackers, man. I'm telling you, a lot of people don't know about them, but they can run. They're fast. They're athletic. They're smart. They can hit, and I think they will be able to make a lot of different plays, especially when you got a hungry defensive line up front creating avenues for them to go make plays. Over the last few years, we've had linebackers make over 100 tackles. I mean, multiple linebackers. I don't think that'll drop off. But it really comes down to that front seven, what they do, given that opportunity for the secondary to have success. And I always say pressure equals picks and coverage equals sacks. And I think you'll be able to see this defense be very, very good in certain situations this year, Phil.
We talked a little bit yesterday, Quinn, about the new rules, about them running the clock in the first quarter. Kind of is going to shorten the game a little bit and limit some of the plays. Are you a favor in the way that some of these new rules that college football has this year?
And at the end of the day, every rule that's and this probably ain't going to sound good, but every rule is made to make sure that TV is hacked. Mm-hmm. And so, it just seems like, I do games on Saturday, but when I get home and I'm ready to watch another game, it seems like the previous game is always still going on. Okay, and then the little scroller comes across the bottom to go to ESPN Plus for the start of Arkansas, Georgia, or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And so I understand the window. And with the way the conference expansion is going on, trust me, I believe there are going to be more TV windows. Not just the ones that you see right now. And so making sure that you can get a football game in a timely fashion that's convenient for your viewers is really what they're thinking about. So I understand. It doesn't bother me as much when I'm doing the game, but when I want to watch a game, I don't want to have to go to, Plus or anything like that to start my viewing experience. So I understand why they're doing that rule. I don't agree with all the rules that they do, but I understand trying to make sure that you get this game in a window is really big. I think it's helped, and I'm not a Major League Baseball fan, but I think, it's helped Major League Baseball shorten their games. They've done some things to shorten it and get it in a window that's better for the fan experience, and I think that's what they're trying to do in college football.
No doubt, man. Attendance is up this year in baseball, and I think it's directly tied to the rules changes.
You can take 11 minutes off these games and still get it in. There's a couple too many timeouts.
Quinn, what about the state of college football? I mean, you even put it in succinct terms. It's all about TV. And these changes in college football all seem to be all about, well, they don't just seem to be, they are all about television. Tradition thrown out the window. But, I also think in college football, it's a sport that talks a lot about tradition, that's had to choose 3 different ways to choose national champions in the last 30 years. So part of the tradition of college football is change. It's just never been quite like this. When you're watching what's going on across the landscape of college football and able to watch it from a really safe perspective in the SEC at Arkansas, where things are stable, what are you thinking of?
Well, the first thing is I'm glad we're in the SEC because you're right. You like to be in a place where you are in the strongest conference in America, and you're provided a lot of cover with teams that aren't going anywhere. And so I thought Oklahoma and Texas really made a good decision coming into the league, even though they're going to struggle with that, but they've got the protection that they need in the best conference. I really thought that my initial thought was I thought the Big 12 was going to be the league that was going to go away. I was thinking, when you lose Oklahoma and Texas, I kind of put it like this, Phil. I know, Matt, you and Phil both love music, and I kind of put it like when Oklahoma and Texas decided to leave, it's like you look at a music festival lineup and you go, okay, there aren't any headliners at this music festival. I'm not going to go. It's kind of like you want to go see Gladys Knight and the Pips. You just don't want to go see the Pips, And so with Oklahoma and Texas leaving, it's like Gladys Knight left to come to us, and I thought that was going to be a whole conference full of Pips. But you got to give that Big 12 commissioner a lot of credit for pulling up the bootstraps and keeping the Big 12 alive. And then the Pac-12 and now the Pac-4 is just kind of the one that I didn't think was going to fall apart like that has fallen apart. So it'll continue to happen. I don't know, you probably get to conferences with 20 members eventually. But it's crazy. You just got to be ready to handle change, look for change, and I mean, if you're an athletic director or in the athletic administration, you got to be looking at poker faces all the way across those rooms in a meeting, saying, I wonder what he's thinking, and what's happening. So, but Arkansas is in a safe place. That move Coach Broyles made several years ago is definitely paying off for us now.
Quinn, you're the best. I appreciate you hopping on with us to give us your thoughts on the Hogs and college football overall. Looking forward again to seeing you in the Rock in a couple of weeks and working with you this season. Thank you so much. Yeah,
absolutely, Phil. Appreciate you, man. Look forward to seeing you. And number 9, one of the best players ever. Boy, that's one guy, Phil, I'm going to tell you, I used to wake up every Saturday morning and said, I cannot wait to see what Matt Jones does.
Quinn.
Boy, he provided a lot of value, man.
Quinn, you're too kind, Quinn. Always enjoy talking with you.
All right, fellas. Y'all take care. Oh, Phil, one last thing. Growing Up Grovey tonight on Hogs Plus, episode 2. Check it out.
That's right. Growing Up Grovey. It's on Hogs Plus. Released, I think it was more than a year ago, and now you got it on Hogs Plus.
Hey,
it's worth your time.
Back-to-back 10-win seasons right there. Quinn Grovey, one of the best to ever do it.
And he's great on the radio with Chuck. He does a lot of fun. Off the air, too. Lots of fun. And we're going to head on a midnight train to Georgia since he brought up Gladys Knight and the Pips for a moment there. Quinn Grovey, the one and only, with us on Halftime.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.